So expectations and like just the reality of coming into calculus. I'm reading your guys' responses to the get to know you. Naturally, a lot of people have never taken calculus before, and so I just want to prepare you for the shock that's gonna come and give you my own story. So the truth is, calculus is it's quite a leap. It's a huge jump from math that you've taken in the past. And I'll get more into that in just a minute. Just my own calculus story. So I took calculus 3 times before I came out of it really passing and knowing what I was doing. So the first time I took it, I was in high school, and my teacher gave me a D. But the truth is, I deserved an F. I was getting scores on tests in the teens, percentage wise. I mean, 15%. I think a good test for me the first time I took calculus would have been, 20 something, like 25, 26% or something. That would have been a better test for me the first time I took it. I was just blown away by the material. Then I took it again. I took it a second time. I was still in high school. And this time I passed. But even though I could do the problems, I really didn't understand the deeper meaning of what I was doing. And so I passed, and I felt pretty good that I passed. It was a huge improvement over failing, but still, I was not confident. And so then when I went to community college, I'd have teachers, in the class, and they'd say, "Have you had any calculus before?" And I'd say, "A little," and I'd be real nervous. I didn't want to admit that, yeah, I took it and I passed, but I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Okay, so when I went to community college, I actually did 3 years at my community college. The first year, I did not want to take calculus. I could have, they would have let me take calculus, but I did not want to do it. I took algebra again in my first year. And then in my second year, I took calculus at the college level, um, now for the third time. Well, I did really, really well the third time I took calculus. So I went from failing to passing but not knowing what I was doing to then passing and really understanding every step that I was doing in every single problem. It was actually fun at that point. And just because I know that I had come so far over the course of like 4 years since the first time I took it. Okay, so what would have been really, really helpful for me the first time I took calculus, and there's just no preparing you for the shock. I mean, I can talk about it, right? But you got to experience it. If somebody would have just told me just how much more difficult this is going to be, just so I could have internalized that before. All right, so that's what I want to do for you guys in the next few minutes. I'm going to switch my camera around. It's pointing down at a piece of paper here on my desk. This is typically how you're going to see lectures unfold, like this. Me and a piece of paper and a pencil. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. Think of this as a high jump bar, and this is the ground level. Okay, so when we're little, we learn arithmetic. So that's kind of like they were asking us to jump that high, maybe, or jump over a bar that high. And you know what? Let me try and focus my camera a little bit better. Perfect. When we were little and doing arithmetic, I mean, that was hard, and we spent a lot of years, right, adding, subtracting, long division, fractions. Okay. So then we got a little bit older. Maybe we went into junior high, high school, right, and we started doing algebra. Think like beginning algebra. Okay. And we get a little bit older, and now we're in high school and we learn geometry. And the bar gets higher and higher, and it's always building on the previous steps. But going from one to the next, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, it doesn't feel like a huge leap. Like it's a pretty natural build from one to the next. Not that it's not challenging, and not that we don't, trip up on when we go to the higher levels, but it more or less feels like this natural progression. Okay, so then maybe, the prereq for our course is college algebra, Math 116. So then we go back to algebra, which is kind of nice if you liked that, but now it's more difficult algebra. So it's harder algebra than we did previously. Okay, but you kind of notice like each step is kind of this incremental sort of thing. And I think most people That's kind of their experience. So you would think going into calculus, well, it's just the next step up. No. Let me make this a little bit taller. Okay, so calculus maybe is going to be up here. So this is, we'll say this is calculus 1, right? That's our course. Okay, it's this massive jump, and it's very difficult to go from doing college algebra to doing calculus. Just the concepts get so much deeper. Now, the truth is, though, after calculus, it goes back to that same progression. So a lot of you guys are going to have to take calculus 2, math 122. Now that's going to go back. Now still, you're going to be able to have to jump this high, and then we're going to build more. So that's still pretty high up there. But the difference between them isn't so shocking. It's this. Okay, so what causes this huge gap? What is it? If we could pinpoint what exactly that is, what is it? Okay, so for one, it's difficult algebra. Now that seems strange. Like, wait a second, like we've done all of our algebra, so what's the problem? Like, we know we got it. Okay, so the sort of algebra you're going to see in our course in Calculus 1, it's technically nothing new. You can't argue that this is some new algebra we're going to see, yet it's going to be situations that you just didn't find yourself in very often back in any of these courses or in college algebra even. Okay, so it's not anything new, but it's just the circumstances that present themselves are tricky to navigate. Let's say it that way. Okay, we're going to see some of those things in our review. Okay, I'm going to try and like highlight exactly the sort of algebra that you need that's in the review that's up today. Okay, what's the next one? Calculus is concept intensive. It's very deeply rooted in concepts. Okay, so previous courses, any of these, the truth is, I think we all know it to some level. I know it. You can get away in these courses without really knowing what's going on. Okay, because there's formulas. You're like, oh, I've seen this kind of problem before and I know what to do. Now, why do you do that? And we're like, well, I'm not really sure, but I know what to do and I know what formula to use. Well, what's really going on? What is this describing really? And you're like, well, I don't really know, but I'm doing well on my tests. Okay, so that sort of level of understanding of the concepts simply will not work in calculus. Okay, there's no place to hide. It's going to be obvious to me when I look at your tests and your quizzes if you know what's going on or not. Sometimes it's even, can you even do the first step of the problem? If you don't understand what the problem is asking and how it connects to the ideas, you won't even be able to do it one step, let alone be able to sneak through and pass. Okay, so concept intensive. Now, I did say the second time I took calculus, I passed it, although I wouldn't say I really knew what I was doing. I did know enough to pass. Okay, so I knew the concepts well enough to navigate to pass. There was still another level that I could have gone to where I would have just been able to do every question, backwards and forwards. And that's where I was the third time I took it. I knew that material so well. I was getting 100% on tests at that point. Not every test I took, but more than one. A couple of them I was getting 100%, right? So, and I was passing before, but I was definitely not getting anywhere near hundreds. Let me tell you that. And that, I'll tell you, that just sets you up so well when you take Calc 2. Okay, so what am I getting at here? So just be ready. Be ready for what's coming. I'm going to tell you more before you see the first lecture videos. You're going to see more on what exactly is the concept intensive. I'm going to do an overview of the entire course so you can kind of understand just what calculus even is. let alone like, then we get into the nitty gritty of the details. But you can get like a big picture idea. We're going to do that. You're going to see that video come out in a couple days. Right now, I just wanted to prepare you. This class is going to be tough. And it's the students who are resilient and diligent and resourceful and are going to tutoring, coming to office hours, seeking out to work with other students in the course. Those are the people who are going to be successful. Okay, when I say it's difficult and it's concept intensive, what does that imply? You're gonna make, let me put the camera back on me. You are going to make a lot of mistakes. Okay, but when you make mistakes, learn from those mistakes. Seek to understand what was going on. When we say the course is concept intensive, it almost can feel like, well, just really, really, really focus on concepts. Yes, focus on concepts, but it's not going to be internalized until you're doing those problems and you're making mistakes, and then you're seeking out help, maybe in my office hours or from other people in the class or tutors. It's also easy to fall into the trap of seeking for too much help. So I say seek help, but it's easy to seek too much help. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but sometimes tutors can do too much, and they actually take away from your learning. So I'd say your number one resource, working with other people. I'm going to be creating some discussion boards. So people can be kind of posting. But if there's other ways that you can get in touch with other people in the course, or checking out Khan Academy, other resources online, it's going to be the students who are resilient, who are just facing adversity around every corner. Like, I don't even know what to do with this problem, but let me try something, right? Those are the people who are going to be successful. Also, it might be that this is not the first time you've taken calculus, if that applies to some people in the class. And maybe you know what I'm talking about, that it's incredibly difficult. And that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that was my case and a lot of other people that I knew as well. So take this, just take what I'm saying here as like, let it like stoke the fire, right? Let it pump you up. I'm going to do everything I can to make the material as accessible as I possibly can do. And that means preparing you now to put you in the best position you can be in before we even start. Okay, so do the review. When you're doing the review, I also post an answer key, so use the answer key responsibly. When you do the review, you get stuck on something, search it out. Okay, there's nothing in that review that's not going to come up in the class. Everything's going to come up. And some things, some things are just kind of like skills you need. Other things are really just setting you up well for big, big concepts that are coming. So we're going to talk about the review. Well, I guess we're not going to, I mean, if you come to office hours, so come to office hours on Wednesday, you get stuck on any of the review, we'll do it together. And you got the answer key there. So go for it, dive in, and put yourself in a good a position as you can right now. I was in a horrible position the first time I took calculus. I passed the previous course, but I was just getting by, and I didn't even realize it. I thought I was doing okay. I thought that's just what it was. I had no idea how much more I needed to invest myself. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Go check out that review. Good luck to you guys. Come by the office hours today even. Maybe you're watching this video before our office hours at 2 o'clock. Hey, stop on by, bring your questions, other questions of the course. Come on by. I'll be here at my desk sweating away by 2 o'clock in the afternoon for sure. Okay, good luck, and that's it.